Good day guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ijoma. In today's tutorial I'm going to show you guys how I made this beautiful yoke on this dress with a turtleneck. I got the inspiration from Vicky James, a popular designer on Instagram and in Nigeria. So I decided to show you guys how I recreated this neckline. So I can't say that it is for beginners. Before you can sew this, you'll be able to know how to sew a padded bustier. So let's get to work, guys. This is my bustier. I've joined my breast part. So I, for the neckline, the wideness will be 2.5 inches. It won't be 3 inches because it is a turtleneck. It has to be very fitted. So I made it 2.5 inches. The neck depth for the front is 3 inches, and the neck depth for the back is 1.5 inch. So I've joined my lining as well. So I'll place the back together. I'll place it this way and keep aside. So the next thing that I will do now is to trace my yoke on my fabric. You can do this on a pattern paper, but for some reasons I like doing it on my, after joining the bustier. So you will determine the neck depth. My client wants her own to stop at 11 inches, to stop at 12 inches, but I made it 11 inches so that I will have extra 1 inch as a control. So in case I make any mistake, I'll have something that I can adjust from. So I'll trace my neckline. You are free to continue tracing until you have gotten exactly what you want or what you wanted. So I turned it so that you guys can see what I'm doing clearly. You are free to trace. This is for freehand cutters. If you like cutting with your free hand without a pattern, I feel that this one will be very convenient for you. So I'm trying to trace it, and when you are done tracing, you cut out the shape you have there. And after cutting, this is what I have, guys. So I will use this one, the remaining parts, the bustier, and cut out my lining. So you repeat everything that you did to this on the lining. Then for the back yoke, you will determine the depth of the yoke. I want mine to be straight, but if you want, you can make it a V shape or a sweetheart shape. Then I'll go ahead and cut. The depth is 8 inches. So I've drafted my yoke for the back. Then I'll subtract the zipper allowance on the yoke because I don't want my zipper to reach the neckline. I want it to stop at the yoke there. That is where my zipper will stop. So I'm trying to make my front yoke equal, trying to make it equal so that everything will align. So this is my neck width. It is 2.5. So the next thing that I'll do right now is to introduce my lace fabric. So this is what I'll be using for my sleeve and the yoke. So I've determined the stretchy part, and the stretchy part is what I will use for my round sleeve, and the non-stretchy part for the length. So I'll cut my sleeve first. The reason why I want to cut my sleeve first is that so that when I want to cut my yoke, I can be free and cut it anyhow that I want to. Because if you cut your yoke before your sleeve, you might realize that at the end of the day the fabric will not be enough for your sleeve. So it is advisable to cut your sleeve before you cut your yoke. I'll determine my the round sleeve, the length, and I'll go ahead and join it and cut. So I'm done cutting my sleeve and I'll keep it aside. Then I'm free to use my, so I'll cut my front yoke first. I'll place the yoke. So guys, when you are cutting out the yoke, remember to add your half-inch seam allowance round the yoke part, round the neckline part. Remember to add your 0.5 inch for seam allowance. Then I'll go ahead and cut for the back. So when I'm done, it is time for joining. I'll go ahead and join my front yoke. So after joining for this side, I'll flip it and join the other side. This part can be hard sometimes, but I'll advise you to take it gently so that you won't make any mistake. And even if you make any mistake, feel free to rip your stitch and resew. So I'm done joining, and this is how it looks like. Remember that you will still turn this with your lining. Guys, do not be deceived by what you see on YouTube. It actually took me some time before I could get it perfectly. I know that sewing curved yokes can be so frustrating sometimes. So I'm trying to change to a red thread. I'm done sewing with my black thread. It is time to change to a red thread so that I can sew the yoke for the back. So this is the yoke for the back. That part where I removed my zipper allowance from, because I said initially that my zipper allowance will not reach my neckline, so I will use my bias tape to turn that part. For this type of neckline, you don't have to turn your neckline, just leave it raw, because you will still add a collar for your standing collar for your as your neckline. So I'm done turning with my bias tape. I'll go ahead and add them to the back. As you can see, the yoke did not reach the zipper allowance. It stopped right at the point where your zipper will stop after joining your zipper. So I don't like it. I don't like seeing my zipper outside. That's why I decided to make it to stop at that yoke part. But if you want, your zipper can reach your neckline if you want. It is a matter of choice. So after doing this, I'll go ahead and turn them with the lining. So after joining my yoke for the back, I'll go ahead and change my thread back to black. Remember that I changed it to red in order to run a bias tip on my yoke for the back. So I'm done. I've changed my zip back to black. Then it is time to turn with my lining. You place the center together, then turn with your lining. So after doing that, you turn your lining to make sure that you've gotten what you wanted, and you notch your neckline, and after notching you top stitch it. Top stitching will help you to hold this lining in place. And after top stitching, while ironing, remember to use your hemming gum round the part where you joined your yoke so that it will hold down the lining. This will make the lining not to be popping out from the inside. It will also help you so that the work will appear so neat. So I'm trying to top stitch, and when you are done top stitching, you can turn the sides. But if you want to do an inseam finishing, don't turn the side, just leave it for now. Then after taking your measurements on the fabric, you are now turn with the lining. That is if you are doing an inseam finishing, but for this one I'll go ahead and turn the side. So I'm done turning with my lining. The next thing that I will do now is to take my body measurement. I've also ironed it very well, so I'll go ahead and take my body measurement, and after marking my body measurement, I'll join. After joining, remember to join your shoulder with a red thread. So I'm done joining. The next thing that I did is to trim my shoulder and my armhole. I'll also measure my half length, and after measuring my half length, I'll cut it out. Now you go ahead and rip your zipper allowance so that you can be free to do other things. Now we'll measure our round neck. You cut the turtleneck after joining the shoulder. You measure your round neck, and what I have here is 16 inches. Remember that the collar has a curve at the front, like it has a very deep curve at the front. So we are going to cut out two pieces for our collar. It is not going to be a one piece collar, it will be two pieces, one for the right side and one for the left side, so that you can be able to achieve that curve. 16 divided by 2 is 8, plus 1 inch for seam allowance, that is 9 inches. So what I measured is 9 inches, and the length of my collar will be 1.5 inch plus half inch for seam allowance, that is 2 inches on fold. It should be 2 inches on fold. So after cutting on my fabric, I'll go ahead and cut on my lace. My client said that I should use a fabric for her collar, but if you want, you can use your doll face, your satin, your bridal, any one that you want inside the collar. Remember to add your interface so that it will be very fair. I'll use my machine to hold down the lace to the Ankara, and after that I will turn my collar. You make a curve on one side. That curve will serve as the center. So I will notch the center of my neckline, and that is where I'll attach my collar. So first of all, you sew inside and then fold it over at the front side like I'm attaching the collar from the inside. I'm attaching only one side of the collar. Remember that I cut it into two. I've done joining from the inside, then at the outside I'll fold it over. The loop that I added to the collar is for my button, because I'm going to use a button to hold it at the back after wearing it, because there's no zipper at the yoke. So I'm folding over to this side. This is just for one piece of the collar. After attaching for this side, I'll go ahead and join the other side. You sew from the inside first, then turn over to the other side. So here we go. As you can see, the curve is out now. In case you're wondering how they added the curve at the center neckline is out. So I'm joining the second collar and folding it over at the front side. And after sewing this, you are done with the neckline. As you can see, our collar is out and it is looking so fine. So you add a button at the center back. The next thing I'll do is to join my sleeve, shape and join your sleeve. And after joining your sleeve, guys, that is all for this tutorial. In case you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comment section. I'll try my best to answer your questions. So guys, after joining the sleeve, this is what we have here. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you all. Thank you. Please, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell and share, so that anytime that I upload a new video, you will be the first to get notified. Thank you all. Thank you for watching. Do try this style out.